So can you feel the breeze? I know I feel the breeze. Yeah. Swear it got me like, whoa, whoa. Can you feel the breeze of the world when the world looking different through my third lens? My frequencies increasing, power surging, melanated greatness in these verses. It got me like, whoa, whoa. Can you feel the breeze of the world when the world looking different through my third lens? My frequencies increasing, power surging, melanated greatness in these verses. Yeah. Hold up, family. Give me a minute, let me roll up, family. Twist up and get my thoughts together. This beat's 5 minutes, I can talk forever. I give you these gems like my thoughts of treasure. Decipher these flows, new metal, never was ahead of my time. Now I'm right on schedule. Take black power to a higher level, like whoa, whoa. Yeah, I'm supercharged. You see the vote. You see it? Freedom's an illusion. Fuck your vote. Make sure that noose it ain't too loose and pray that you don't choke because they still hanging niggas in them trees. It ain't no joke. Strange fruit, so I keep my boots planted like they grew some roots. Soldier for the cause, food for thought. I got that fresh produce. Them groceries don't stand too close to me unless you prep to shoot. I salute all my rebels, revolutionaries too. Asheo, evoke the ancestors, drop the payload. We the bomb myth, I must say so. Give them that lava, break the volcano. Tell me, can you feel the breeze of tornadoes? You feel it? Caught up in the whirlwind. I come and view the world through my third lens. Swear it got me like, whoa, whoa. Can you feel the breeze of the world when the world looking different through my third lens? You see it? My frequencies increasing, power surging, melanated greatness in these verses. It got me like, whoa, whoa. Can you feel the breeze of the world when the world looking different through my third lens? You see it? My frequencies increasing, power surging, melanated greatness in these verses. Yeah. Take a pause for the cause, a second to reflect and get lost in my thoughts. Just chill. I'm just an author that talks slow audio books. I got volumes for y'all. So many chapters. Look, I broke them down into songs. My catalog really look like a catalog. Before you even turn your cameras on, they feel me walking with gods. Rose up, yeah, against all odds. Trying to tap into your mind as I paint this collage. Stay woke, elevate these bars. Third eye, operate radar. Meaning I can sense when the vibe ain't real. Make them feel this, but they spines get chills. They feeling this energy, watch as I build. Got them geeked up, ain't talking about pills. Just charging this melanin. I power them up, it's all for they betterment. It's a sure thing, you better bet on it. I'm mixing the sugar inside of this medicine. If I believed in it, this would be heaven. Sinking you so many juices, it's embezzlement. Rising like mercury, I'm in my element. Whoa, leaving my mind like an elephant toe. Hannibal, what I be yelling? The top of my lungs, so be ready for war. General Brick, I got medals galore. Choppers that chop like machetes and swords. Whoa, whoa, I feel the power surging. So come and view the world through my third lens. Swear it got me like, whoa, whoa. Can you feel the breeze of the world when the world looking different through my third lens? You see it? My frequencies increasing, power surging, melanated greatness in these verses. It got me like, whoa, whoa. Can you feel the breeze of the world when the world looking different through my third lens? You see it? My frequencies increasing, power surging, melanated greatness in these verses. Yeah.
Shots of slugs. Harriet shotgun coming soon. Let's get it. Happy born day, Mumia Jamal. Free all our political prisoners. Yeah. Free Mumia. This line I push, right? These crackers still treat him like he signed the Suge Knight. And everything's political, so free all my prisoners and fuck Bill Clinton for making these bracelets his and hers. COVID got us more covert, ghost face. I soul search, my sole purpose is to motivate. Despite the trap woes, the mind has no type of limit. That's cold, so they also trap souls like Bryson Tiller. Give respect to get respect. I could never be a patriot. I'm too quick to check a Bella chick. At the range, dump calibers out the basement, but look up to my OG out the Attica. I know you're not from Brooklyn, but spar me. You gonna take this L like you wanna go to Canarsie, and that's not Warsy. I touch life, but I can clutch the brush and hit the corners like a dust mite. Snipe off, start bailing, slide on them. Ricky Henderson, they all cap. They sound like they all yelling. Empty barrels make the most noise. I'm most boys to get an M and my pros want Rolls Royce. I ain't gonna punch you. You get on my last nerve like Dr. Matulu, but I just puncture. WD-40, my talk reach. Rock with Dr. Octopus. You got a shark's reach. The army is RBG. Pardon me, but all these beats need a Marcus Garvey speech. God the Greek, me the folk. God supreme, that's G-O-D, not G.I. Joe. Do the knowledge and flip the wig as I take it from a lie to zigzag zig. I hear sirens, silence. Dip and get lost. You hear sirens and whistle like take me to headquarters. These police ass motherfuckers, man. Carry a shotgun coming soon.
Police don't need no body cams. More pigs need to be in body bags. Police don't need no body cams. More pigs need to be in body bags. Body bags, 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 body bags. Blood splashed on the dash cam, video went viral. Modern day legend, fear mongering, keep us in this cycle. Paradigm must shift. If a gift was a grip, we would all be rich. But that if more like a fifth. Rabbi Drew, two Fanny Lou's go out in the blaze. Then get bland up, hands up, hashtag by my name, I bet. Some don't even sense a threat. Just flames snap on the wrist, pat on the back, and got assistance in brothers lane. Police don't need no body cams. More pigs need to be in body bags. Police don't need no body cams. More pigs need to be in body bags. Still being civil, still holding candlelight vigils. Popo popping pistol. Cracker restraint, not even injured. That ain't double standards, that ain't privilege though. They don't sympathize, it is what it is though. Statistics is wicked, I'm convinced they trained to kill the black and the innocent. You can't tell me different. Blue wall of violence, been here, check the data home. Same amount of bodies, way before them camera phones. Law enforcement job is carry on draconian imperatives regardless of personal motives. They say the KKK infiltrated the force. Sad plus some Negro right now, calling them folks. Damn. Police don't need no body cams. More pigs need to be in body bags. Police don't need no body cams. More pigs need to be in body bags. Body bags, 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 body bags.
Rest in power, Seville Smith. City caught fire. Your star still lit. Fresh off papers, I'm in the field dip with the steel grip like unity is real strength. I cook a pig, but I don't eat the pork. Freedom or death, I'm like either or. Are we following the lead and more? Don't put them in your prayers. Put them underneath the floor. Who wanna be the king? Which one? More in the Rodney. I be midnight riding. Me and Doc Marty, Bomani. And Harry and Shotty. L aiming for heads while Jay and Green prepare for the bodies. Body bag.
don't think there's any other way to begin this or to say it. We are at war. We're in a physical war. We are at war. I don't think there's any other way to begin this or to say it. We are at war. We're in a physical war of attrition, which for some people, it may appear that we are losing, but I measure based upon how far I've moved away from being your head. The slave's wisdom is in the master's head. When deeds speak, words are meaningless. If they come and get your men at night, they'll be back in the morning for your women. Proverbs are people's wisdom. But when you teach children in Proverbs, then you are cultivating their ability to think. We have to stop sometimes. Someone will say a proverb to us. We have to stop and think about what it means. And then what it means in terms of the context of whatever they're talking to us in. Because Proverbs work your brain. Proverbs make you think. Imagine what we would have in our communities if every other sentence, every other discussion we had, we presented our children with a proverb relative to that. What kind of firepower we would have in the minds of our children. We wouldn't have a situation like we have now, where we move from miseducation, where they're given the wrong information, to diseducation, where they don't want to have to think because it's work. Proverbs shows you how intelligent you are. It gives you the wisdom of your ancestors. I wanted to go through a list of what it is to be a man, or what manhood is supposed to be about already. So for me, manhood involves at least 5 major components. You have educator, leader, provider, protector, and respecter of women. In our home, politics is simple. Politics don't have to be big. They should really be simple things. For Indiana, no Euros, no homos, no Negroes. And I ask people to remember one word for me. It's a very important word in our house. John Clark talked about how the Romans, when they wanted to conquer Kemet, they would greet each other every day. Greetings, fellow Roman. Egypt must die fall. Greetings, fellow Roman. Egypt must fall. And this was an affirmation they said to each other day in and day out until they did it. We must say something along those lines. How you say and what you say, that's up to you, but we need to incorporate that into our conversation. We say a BB Fahodie. You say that with me. A BB Fahodie. A BB Fahodie. That's tree for African liberation. A BB Fahodie. We say that when we greet each other in the morning. We say that when we walk out the door. We say that when we're going to bed. We say that whenever anyone sneezes. A BB Fahodie. A BB Fahodie. A BB Fahodie. A BB Fahodie.
In size and magnitude. There's a lot of fear in our community. There's a lot of need to be validated. The assault against African-centeredness is increasing in size and magnitude. There's a lot of fear in our community. There's a lot of need to be validated and loved by enemies in our community. There's a lot of need to run from who you are because it is something that you despise. Self-hatred and menticide are deep, and it seems like they're growing deeper. But what I see in front of me tells me that it's not victorious. If there's one person sitting here, then that means that we haven't lost. We have a lot of work to do, and we need to focus our attention on our children, because they're the ones who are the primary targets. But now on this issue and every other issue of insanity, it turns us into somebody who we are not. If we're going to win, we have to produce warriors.
Initiated, student of the EY, so baptized by the warrior teachers. I'm training, learning how to shoot the gauge while you burning sage, playing video games. This message here is for the RPG brigade. Shed blood, bring peace, that's the warrior's way. Libation is the blood, sweat, and tears. Ibaye, Ashe, I'm bringing death to the quiz. I wanna live, so I die for the kids. Back smack, gangsters coming home from bids. Free your dome, you only hard to kill your own. A straight race traitor, the white man's clone. Burrito man, I'ma continue to plan. Choke the life out of a cracker with my bare hands. That's my word, my deed, and my thought. From sun up to sundown, true warriors fought.
This needs to be emulated everywhere we are at. Those people who are calling themselves warriors, well, the root word of warrior is war. And either you're playing games and trying to be a fake thug, or you really are about the business of protecting your community because you realize that we are at war. And you act like we are at war, not like we are at peace.
Firm handshake, look a brother in the eye so I can tell if he fake. I can see through the disguise if he got a forked tongue, speaking disrespectful lies. Asata Baba Baruchi, respect him cause he wise. Dropping wisdom on the pages, so stand up and be courageous. Our enemies engaging with grenades and shotty gauges, with machetes, with the razors, with the sticker, with the stone, or bare knuckles to their faces. Got a hatred for the races, other times are for the traitors. Won't forget about the lynchings, how they fed us to the gators. Real gangsters protect their neighbors, won't betray us for some paper. Our secrets keep it sacred, our legacy's the greatest. Stay the greatest, cause they haters, they some haters. I drop it like an anchor with the hopes that it'll change us. The artificial flavors. You wanna be a player while they hanging, so which team you playing for, the underdog or for the face?
Warriors are supposed to be about the business of defending those people in their community. They're supposed to be about the business of making people comfortable, giving them a safe space. People say warriors are healers, and they are. Sometimes healing is that tough love thing where you gotta handle people in a particular way. But our job is to make it so that our people have all obstacles removed from their way in being African.
Peace and Black Power family. Welcome to another episode of Do Knowledge Radio, the place where knowledge is born. This is your host, Knowledge Born Alive, and we are here to continue a discussion that was cut short yesterday due to another program having to happen with Baba Me and Mama and Koyo. So we are back here. I'm looking at this tornado warning. I think they already had took a look at this broadcast and issued a tornado warning because a tornado indeed will be coming through when you bring up some true Soledad brothers. As you know, yesterday, the 24th was Mumia Jamal's born day, so we were celebrating him. And we carrying it on for this Soledad tribute. So until Sass, aka Shwa Lewi, joins us, we're going to begin. We're reading yesterday and today's warrior affirmation from the book Inya Sasen, the calendar of revolutionary daily thoughts by Jenga Living Ancestor, Baba Dr. Nwali Kibamani Barubi. You can get this book and all of his other books and lectures with him and Mumia from www.akobenhouse.com. That's AKOBENHOUSE.com. So let me read. Racism systematically verifies itself anytime the slave can only be free by imitating the master. I'm going to read that one more time. Racism systematically verifies itself anytime the slave can only be free by imitating his master. And that's a quote from Jamal Abdullah Al-Amin, formerly known as H. Rap Brown. And we know that city, H. Rap Brown City, which is that place that is now known today as Atlanta, that sojourn, that warrior heart, that warrior spirit, that Soledad, brother, trek through. Let's get into Baba's explanation. That slaves are less than their masters is evident every time they act as they have been defined by the reality that they have accepted and internalized as normal, deserved, correct existence. When doing so, they become active, willful participants in their own negation and dehumanization. To be free, enslaved individuals must recognize their oppression and refuse to participate. And herein lies the difference between a slave and one who is enslaved. Slaves actually see themselves as property of those who control them. Slaves believe they should be oppressed and exploited and willingly participating in. Enslaved individuals know that they are being held captive against their will and will work with every means at their disposal to free them. They are constantly at war against those who detain and oppress them. Most Africans were not slaves. They were enslaved. Read that again. Most Africans were not slaves. They were enslaved. As the physical chains of bondage were taken off, Europeans switched gears and focused more of their energy on turning Africans into independent slaves. So, today, the balance in the number of African slaves versus those of us enslaved has shifted. Most of us progressively regressed into the severest states of mental slavery. These individuals have used every ounce of their genius to turn the world into a plantation on which they can freely slave. These individuals have used every ounce of their genius to turn the world into a plantation on which they can freely slave. Affirmation: I am no one's slave. Affirmation: I am no one's slave. Affirmation: I am no one's slave. So before I read the next part, let me bring in to the microphone, because y'all ain't come here for me, okay? Y'all came in here for the warrior mind of our soul sister, a warrior, a true one, who is unapologetic, who fits the description and example of a true African warrior woman. Let me bring in to the microphone Sass, aka Shwa Lewi, aka O Nation Not Desired.
Shalom.
Shalom.
You can hear me good?
I can hear you magnificent.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So let me continue reading. This is April 26th. As it has passed midnight, we're here on April 26th. Let me read this for today. Dislike without knowledge is not firm. Again, it reads, dislike without knowledge is not firm. And this is a quote from Aikwe Arma. Let me get into Baba's explanation. Excuse me. A jilted lover, too blind to see that he or she was deliberately betrayed, is likely to be used and abused by the same person in the same way over and over again. This warning, illustrating the weakness of ignorance and blind devotion, in fact, applies to every type of relationship in a reality where abuse of and control over others determines one's power and worth. In such a world, the corrupting effect of a will to dominance extends itself outward into every relationship that its originators and carriers have with others. Case in point are those curious Africans who claim to dislike those who they are fully aware have an unbroken record of hatred against us. Strangely, they cannot believe that this hatred is embedded in Urugu's heart. No matter how convincing their defense, these steadfast disbelievers are not true warriors. True warriors know their enemies. These incomplete warriors are no more than closet devotees of insanity, veiled sycophants, desperately rationalizing their menticidal desire to be respected and included in others' deading games. They sit and wait for those who have always benefited from evil to stop being their natural selves. They recognize to acknowledge that an entire people can be innately evil. They refuse to acknowledge that an entire people can be innately evil. They refuse to acknowledge that an entire people can be innately evil. Understanding this is basic to an African warrior's knowledge base. Understanding this is basic to an African warrior's knowledge base. Understanding this is basic to an African warrior's knowledge base. Affirmation, I know my enemies. Affirmation, I know my enemies. Affirmation, I know my enemies. So this is a reading and a point of reference for this conversation today here from Inyasa 7, the calendar of revolutionary daily thoughts by Jinga, living ancestor, Dr. Nwali Cable Mani Baruti. And as I said, you can get this from www.akabinhouse.com. So, assassin.
Yo.
Assassin.
I'm here. I heard what you read.
You heard what I read?
Yeah, you were speaking to black people, right?
It was the only people I ever talked to.
All right. Because you mentioned there was a part that Baba mentioned where they can't believe that whole people can be evil.
Whole race can be innately evil.
Right. but they think of it. They think of that of themselves. That's what I'm finding. Only themselves, only their own, can be a evil race of people. And that way of thinking is what kind of thinking? I found a new term that everybody needs to look up. It's called the neo-slave way of thinking. So I read about that last night. So if you want to look at that, go ahead. It's a real thing. You have been indoctrinated or influenced or made to believe those things, and it has been passed down generation to generation to generation. Because people will say,
And
well, where did that come from? Well, it was passed down from generation to generation.
anti-dreptomaniacs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We seem to think of that being our people being the evil ones, and everyone else are angels. Yeah. Why is that? Because you were made to believe that. Simple. And it's a real
What they say in
thing.
that movie? Because I'm a punk.
Yeah.
Remember what he said? What he said? What movie was that? He was like, "Cause I'm a punk." What he say? Because I'm a punk. What was that? The best man or something? The wood or something?
I mean,
I think it was the wood.
it was
He
probably
was
the
like, because
wood.
I'm a punk.
Yeah, it was probably the wood. So
Yeah.
yeah. So that was interesting that he brought that up. Our
On today, and
willingness to participate. Go ahead.
look at our subject matter, and look at what lays before us as a foundation. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Every day, I have to smile when I look in Yasasim. Bible be so in tune with my soul and my spirit and my
Mm-hmm.
space of insurrection every single time without fail.
Yep. 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 Yep.
You loading your rifle over there?
Oh no, it's my label maker. My label maker. No, but I was just wanting to tell you that I heard what you were reading, and it's interesting. Um, self hate is a real thing. So it's sad, but I'm gonna say to you, Black people, it's not your fault. I'm not one of those people that will say you cause your own pain and sorrow. I'm not one of those people. I'm not a neo slave.
You want some orange juice?
Them oranges again.
Got to.
Oh, here we go. Yep. There we go.
Got to be ready at all times.
I tried to I don't have blood in my eye, but I tried to pull that up, but mysteriously it's missing from the library. So I did find Soledad, the letters. I did find that. So
I don't leave home without it right here.
Yeah. So I did find that. What page you on?
I'm on every page.
I wanna read some of that. His son was born 8.5 months after he died. Talking about Jonathan Jackson, right?
Yes.
That's what it says. Okay, make sure I was reading the right thing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so because he wrote the foreword to the book, so.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Man child. Man child. Yes. This was too good for my soul.
Right. This the prison system is a brutal one. A lot of these offenses don't call for a prison sentence. You know, but we will say, you know, well, if he didn't do that bad thing, then he wouldn't be in prison. He wouldn't be in jail. That's one of the things that comes out first. But if you understood what the proper judgment is, you wouldn't be saying that. So everything that you think is bad or whatever, or an offense someone committed, yeah, it could be bad, but the judgment don't fit the crime. You know, and a lot of these judgments definitely don't fit the crime. Like when you get that rape charge, and it's been proven you raped people, you don't get on death row for that. You go to prison and then they let you out. So how is that okay? But then incarcerate someone for stealing for 10 years. What was it? Stealing for 10 years? I read, let me see. He took the plea, right? And for 1 year, he got 1 year to life. So he did 7.5 years for stealing. That punishment don't fit the crime at all. So each thing has to be like weighed and measured, right? But we just accept that if you do something wrong or whatever, you should just go to prison. Why is that? You understand what I'm saying? Knowledge?
I do.
Like, I mean, I hear it all the time. Well, if he wasn't on the corner all day and he wasn't doing this, let me tell you something. That's God-given right to be outside and walk around.
That's still an effect. That's not a cause.
Right.
That's still an effect.
Mm-hmm. Like,
That's not a cause.
Mm-hmm.
What is the cause? And who's responsible for the cause and the effect? It's not a cause.
Well, those are some... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, those are some of the things that they use to what do you call? Wait a minute. To justify why someone should be locked up.
Probable cause.
Mm-hmm.
Loitering.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the sidewalk is public. It's a public area, right? The only way someone could know that you're loitering, right, is from a place is if there's a person out there that calls the police and says this person is loitering and standing on public property. You know, that's the only way they would know. So, you know, you have your own people or not calling the police well, actually you have the residents policing with the police. I'm having a hard time explaining it, but that is the only way they know. You know,
that's how Trayvon Martin was killed.
Right.
That's how Tamir Rice was killed.
Right. Being on public property where you can walk around and whatever. And then it takes for somebody to call the authorities, the quote unquote authorities, to get you messed up.
Eric Garner was killed.
Mm-hmm. Right. So
and it's always a report.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not something that anybody takes into account.
Yeah. And
it's always in a report.
Those punishments don't fit the crime. Oh, well, if he wasn't out there,
Mike Brown was killed.
Yeah. Well, if he wasn't out there, he has a God-given right to walk anywhere he wants. This earth is his. But people can't.
Sandra Bland was driving her car.
Her own car.
She was driving. She wasn't loitering. She was driving her car.
Right, her own car.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Corinne Gaines was traveling because she didn't go by driving. And they marked her, and they found her address, and they came to her house to kill her.
Her house, her private property. See, that's now it's different.
Holding her child.
Right. She's on her own
No
property.
regard.
Now, if you're infringing on people's property or whatever, you should be blown to smithereens if you don't leave. That's the judgment for it.
The SWAT team came to her house.
Awful. And because people don't know natural law, they go with the law of the quote-unquote establishment and call it righteousness. And they will use that thing to justify what they say.
She had Harriet's shotgun. She was ready. She knew natural law.
There you go.
This is why they came and stalked her. This is why they brought the SWAT team to her house. A young black woman in her 20s.
Yep.
Holding her child.
I saw a title of video today. A brother said that the United States government is now admitting that they target black youth. You know, when I read last night, they were trying to keep freedom fighters from influencing the youth, but now they're targeting them directly now and taking them out directly. So
is that news?
That is not news. It's not new or anything. I read yesterday that they keep you under surveillance when you're young. Between 12, starting at probably the age of 12, 14, depending on whatever road you take in life or whatever. Yeah.
That late?
No, not that late. When they start classifying you in the public school system as young as what, Head Start. So
yes.
Yeah. They know who you are. Sometimes from birth too.
Tamir Rice was dead at 12.
Right. So this is a system that many believe in and call it righteous. It's not enough that sons and daughters are being killed. As long as it's not mine, it's okay. But one day it could be yours. You don't want that. And then what are you prepared to do? So, collectively needing to show solidarity for each other. If you can't do anything about it, like people say you can't do anything about it, but just understand that, speak about it. Show that you understand differently and not siding with the enemy and what the enemy says. There was a time when we didn't do that. Side with them. So what is it? 50 years? 40 years maybe? It started to change 40 years ago. Something like that. So, and I'm not being discouraging. I'm just saying, wake up. And, it is important for you to know your rights because also, we read a lot about the prison lawyers, right? They get real smart. They are lawyers, basically. The ones that we've been dealing with lately, they got smarter while they were in prison and became like renowned writers and scholars in there. So I don't know. I'm not discouraged or anything, but we just keep disregarding what's ours naturally. Yeah, I don't know why we're not acknowledging our way. We get to do that, but once again, it's that fear, right? But we see in the children that fear is going bye-bye. The fear is going bye-bye, and because these children today don't care. It's like, whatever, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do regardless, and it's happening. I see it all the time. The parents are scared ishless, of their kids too. Because they're not having it. And guess what? They're not afraid to die. And some people say I'd rather die than be a slave. Right? You're a slave. You're being tortured day in and day out. And what the modern day would be for us in this country, the modern day, I would say, the most common is going to work for your enemy and being on their clock and have to do what they say. That's torture. I don't know about you. I don't like that. I don't do well with that thing. Especially getting older too. No. It's pushing that retirement age further and further out too. I think it's gonna be 68 now. It was 62, then 65 now. I think they're gonna try to push it out to 68. Can you believe that? So they want you all the way to death now, and you call that progress? That is not progress. Anybody who says, black people talk about progress, no, that's not progress. It's because we've been owning houses, land, all kind of stuff. We've been doing stuff. We've been, dressing, showing out and dressing and partying. We've been doing that. So I don't see how what we have now, which is the same thing, progress really. What happened?
The cat agrees with it.
The who?
So as long as the cat agrees with us, we're doing good.
Well, I don't know who that is. Okay. I was just emptying out my mind. That's all.
The cat. As long as the cat agrees with us, we're doing good.
Oh, my cat. Oh, well, she nowhere to be found at the moment, but I'm sure she'll show up in a minute, as she always does. So let me go. I'm going to read it again. The formula for the neo-slave narrative sells because it is simple, because it accepts and maintains categories like black and white, for instance, of the status quo, because it is about individuals, not groups, crossing boundaries, because it comforts and consoles those in power and offers a ray of hope to the powerless, although the existing social arrangements may allow the horrors of plantations, ghettos, and prisons to exist. The narratives tell us these arrangements also allow room for some to escape. Thus, the arrangements are not absolutely evil. No one is absolutely guilty, nor are the oppressed, i.e., the slave, the prisoner, the ghetto inhabitant, absolutely guiltless. If some overcome, why don't the others? So that's sad to read. So if you're oppressed, you're not absolutely guiltless. You're guilty of something. That's what it say. And it says those that do evil are not absolutely the arrangements that they put into what do you call that? Into play are not absolutely evil. We know it's evil as hell. No one is absolutely guilty, so nobody is, it just is what it is. And they call it social arrangements. So you're born into a social contract where you just accept the status quo, and then you call that good. And as long as you're able to move up out of your situation, which it says the slave, the prisoner, the ghetto inhabitant, you're able to get out of these things and get some money in your pocket, then why can't the others do it? So it gives you a little wiggle room, it says, for some to rise above that. But guess what? It ain't gonna happen for everybody. And that's the horrible part. That's the horrible part. So those people that say, oh, I made it, I did this, I did that, but you need to look at the majority of your people and they haven't made it. That don't make you sad. It doesn't make you blue. Oh, it's because they're lazy, they're this and that. No. The system is set up for only some to rise up out of that. Some. It's a fact. And knowledge, I don't know if you want to speak on this, but people don't think this thing is real. Like the setup ain't real. It's called what? Social conditioning to believe in. What I read is it. It's simple. It says that it's simple. It's literally a little paragraph of what it is, and it sums it all up to It sums it all up. Nothing more, nothing less. They can't have you. They can't have you rise up and conquer them. They can't have you to do that. Because guess what? They want to be in charge. And they know we want to be in charge. Only one can be in charge, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't want to be the ones in charge? That's sad too. Where do you want to go? Like if you separate from, white supremacy, where are you going to go? Wherever I want to go. It's my God-given right to go wherever I want to go on this earth. Why am I just supposed to be in one place? That doesn't make any sense. Our people have never done that, been in one place. So what are you saying? Go back. Oh, where are you going to go? Go back to where? Wherever you want to go. We're not just, subject to a place, a physical place. No. Other people, the outsiders are supposed to just accept it, that we are who we are, and that's that. And they have no right to infringe on what we're doing. Unless we're doing some crazy stuff, then they have nothing to say. I wouldn't sit by and watch another nation hang my people from trees or hang anybody peoples from trees. No, that's a call for war. So, because what that does is it sets a precedence about how we live in this world or whatever. No, it's our way or the highway. And when people say, well, Sass, how can you talk like that? What easy. Our way is the righteous way. It just is. And if Black people want to disagree with me, they're going to tell me how that's wrong. Because if you go back to the ancestors, I agree with them. So that's all I have to say at this point.
That's all you got to say at this point?
At this point.
Why?
Yeah, we mean why? Because I want to find some points or whatever. I feel like this is too deep for some people. That's all.
Well, let them decide. Give them that work.
What work? I already did. I already gave them the work.
Don't hold back on it.
Don't hold back on them. I'm speaking of neo-slaves or not. Let me see. So let me see. Let me go back here because the son of Jonathan Jackson. This is what he says about his name. He said he's talking about his father and his uncle. So that will be Jonathan and George. He says both he and my father left me a great deal. Pride, history, and an unmistakable name. That's what he said. So that they left him a legacy. And he's very proud of it. Uh-oh, there she is. You heard her?
I heard it before.
Yep, there she goes. So annoying.
That's right.
No matter how oppressive his situation became, George always had time to lend his spirit to the people he cared for. No matter how oppressive his situation became. It says here, they wouldn't let me see. So his uncle, they wouldn't allow him to see his family while he was in there. Why is that? And let's see. This is sad. He never met his father. That's sad. Oh, wait a minute. I'm getting an error. Okay, he says, my life is not consumed by the Jackson legacy, but my charge is an accepted and cherished piece of my existence. It is out of my responsibility to my legacy that I have come to write this forward to my uncle's prison writings. He's talking about the letters. They are things of beauty, my most valuable possessions, passionate pieces of writing that I have few rivals in the modern era. They will remain unpublished. However, the letters of Soledad brothers demonstrate the same insight and eloquence. The way George's writings make his personal experience universal is the mainstay of his brilliance. Oh, here we go. When this collection of letters was first released in 1969, it brought a young revolutionary to the forefront of a tempest characterized by the Black Power, free speech, and anti-war movements, accompanied by a dissatisfaction with the status quo throughout the United States. How can you not want to separate from something that's highly documented that you see every day called the status quo of the United States? I don't understand that. Let's see. He illuminated previously hidden viewpoints and feelings that disenfranchised segments of the population were unable to articulate. The poor, the victimized, the imprisoned, the disillusioned. The scriptures say you're supposed to take care of that widow, that poor, and the fatherless. That's what it says. And this is who he represented here. And George spoke in a revolutionary voice that they had no idea existed. He was a prominent figure of true radical thought and practice during the period. And when he was assassinated, his life and thought serve as a message. George himself is the revolution. It says the sign spots of systematic breakdown are as glaringly obvious as they were in the 60s. Unrest manifesting itself in inner city turmoil, widespread rise of violence in the culture, an international oppression to legitimize a state in crisis. The fact that the imprisonments in California have no more than tripled over the last decade, supported by the public. That's what I was talking about like 10 minutes ago. It's merely one sign of societal decomposition. Exactly. That systematic change occurred during the 60s is a myth. I'm going to repeat that. That systematic change occurred during the 60s is a myth. So this is what I was talking about earlier. We think it's a myth that it doesn't that it's not legitimate, that it's made up, that no, it can't be possibly. If you work hard enough, you could do this, and that. And oh, it's because black people can't come together. No, it's not that. So it's and a lot of people not misspeak. I won't say misspeak, but are just miseducated in this. That's all. And I talk to a lot of smart people every single day. These issues do not come up. We don't speak about these things. And these are smart people, book smart people, have college degrees and everything. But yet they do not talk about these things here. Systematically locking you up. But if one black man makes it, then, it's okay. So this man writes very well. This forward is great if you want to read it. It's in the Soledad brother book, The Prison Letters of George Jackson. It's Jonathan Jackson's son, and he writes it, and he tells you everything you need to know about your condition in this forward. Wait a minute, what's this part right here? Oh, I read somewhere in this book somewhere. Let me find it. It's a Judeo-Christian. Let me search that in this book. I read so much I can't find it. Okay, well, here I'm going to read this. It says, yeah, okay, so I saw the word Lincoln, so I want to read that. It says here, a few tidbits, factual or not, incomplete and selective, are used to describe the entirety of a person's existence. They become part of mainstream consciousness. We therefore know that Lincoln freed the slaves, Malcolm X was a black extremist, and Hitler was solely responsible for World War II and the Holocaust. I'm sorry, that makes me laugh. All half-truths, and I was talking about this yesterday. I said at first, there's good things and bad things. Don't read any of the bad things. But then I said, no, read everything and come to your own conclusion. That's what I said. So you need to know how to pick and throw away. All half-truths go unexplained. All fallacies go unchallenged. And we see that in debates. All fallacies go unchallenged. They call it a fallacy, but they don't address them. They call them talking points, they don't address them. As they appear to make perfect sense to the everyday, not critically thinking American. As they appear to make perfect sense to the everyday, non-critically thinking American. The paradox has been created. Now, it says here, non-critically thinking. Now, if you go to Western philosophy, those people sat around all day long, those Europeans sit around all day long thinking. They call them thinkers. You know, there's ancient thinkers, there's modern thinkers. There's so many thinkers. This is all they do is think about how they can rule the world, right? So when I hear certain things come out of people, when I know it's a half truth or if something doesn't make any sense, that's how you can find out and point out a non-critically thinking person. It usually comes from a regurgitation or something that comes from books. You know, it's good to read books, but if you can't decipher how they got to their conclusion, or what do they call it? They call it deductive reasoning, right? Yes. Put piecing evidence together. If you're, I don't see enough people doing it. It's simple. So it says here, the paradox has been created. The more famous a person becomes, the more misunderstood he or she is. This accepted occurrence is incredibly counterintuitive. The public should know more, not less, about a noteworthy individual and a socio-political dynamics surrounding him or her. So I find that point that he makes, speaking about critical thinking, because, you know, if you want to use European terms, you know, or try to figure out, you know, if you want to look up what I'm talking about, they call it deductive reasoning. I call it common sense. It's called what do you call it? Street what do they call it now? It's on the street. I don't want to use slang words, but it's usually people on the street know better. Like, so when something don't sound right, you know, they start asking questions. Like they turn to Socrates on the street. You ever talk to somebody, you know, you get with your people on the street, you start talking, and something happened, and you know, who said that? I think it was Cat Williams when he said, you know, you should always have a white friend because they don't ask no questions, and how black people ask all the questions. Right there, because they're trying to piece together your BS. It makes sense. So, you know, if you want to get scholastic with it, look up the Socratic method, deductive reasoning, critical thinking, because critical thinking is theory, and it's its own subject. Okay, so you have anything to say, sir?
Nope.
No. Okay, well. All right, so, you know, I just find this forward once again just awesome. What I'm saying is that you don't want to be a pushover. You know, he used the phrase called historical mythicization. For the most part, consciously created phenomenon. The media doesn't go out of their way to mislead the public by constructing false heroes and emphasize the mundane. Fewer dimly lit conferences take place than conspiracy theorists believe. It is the existing political system that is responsible for the information that reaches the general public. The state's control of information created the system, and it continually recreates it. That is why when you see those movies, one comes to mind. No, two. I'm gonna give you a black movie and a white one. So the black one would be the one who sat at the, how you say it, Knowledge? What is it called?
The spook who sat by the door.
Yes, that one where he had to intercept the airwaves to change the message. Yeah, like that. And then you see it again in Escape from New York, when the activists were talking about how imperialist the United States government was. They took over air traffic control like that because they understand the power of information that reaches the general public, and that's the way you do it. It's not the internet; it's the TV. It's the videos. I wouldn't blame the internet. I blame the information that people put out. So it'll be things that you can hear and things that you can see. So it'll be television or videos, and it will be radio, even music. So be wary about what you hear on out in the on the airwaves, and always take it as something false until you go into your investigation to find out if it's true or not. It says the state's control of information created in the system, and it continually recreates it, propagated by schooling and the media. Information that reaches the public is subject to three main chief mechanisms of state control: denial, self-censorship, and imprisonment. Now, he even goes into denial. A lot of people like to deny. Oh, no, you're being a conspiracy theorist. You're this, you're that. Deny things that are happening about, what's going on in the whole world. He talks about the whole world here. He says here, examples are plentiful. Pre-war state terrorism against the people of North and South Vietnam. Pre-war state terrorism against the people of North and South Vietnam, and later the bombing of Cambodia. Government funding and military aid to Nicaraguan Contras. Y'all know what Contras are. And support of UNITA and South Africa in the virtual destruction of Angola, among many others. So now, pre-war state terrorism. This is something that they had to do because North and South Vietnam wasn't having that nonsense. Cambodia wasn't having that nonsense. And those Nicaraguans were not having that nonsense. And Angola wasn't either. These are all warrior people in these quote unquote third world countries. So what do they have to do? They have to compromise them in order to take them over. But guess what? Those countries, those places, even though some will believe that, a lot of these governments are corrupt, but these countries still stand. Their name's still there to this day. So now it's brought up, being a slave and being enslaved are two different things. When you enslave, but a lot of people will deny that. No, I'm not a slave. I've heard that many times. Now, you heard that people say that, right?
I heard them.
Yeah, but they're in denial. They're in denial. The songs, if Jay-Z has a song, he says, a New York song, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. That's what he said. I laugh at that. Nobody asked questions about that. Like he said, if you can make it here in New York, you can make it anywhere. But guess what? We ain't making it in New York. Guess what? We ain't making it nowhere. I just find that hilarious. And we used to be rapping and stuff. Oh, that was dope. He said, but he got that from Frank Sinatra. That's the white man that said that. He wasn't talking to you. And Jay-Z, this dummy, he just repeated because he know y'all don't know no better. Yeah, y'all can be billion strong, $1 billion strong like me. Yeah, you could do it. Yeah, okay. And people say, "Oh, Sass, you just making fun, or you acting like people don't have opportunity to do this and do that or whatever." No, that's not that. It's not that. That's not what I'm saying. But we put too much value in a system that oppresses us. That's what I'm saying. So challenge me on that. Challenge me on that. I want somebody to challenge me on that. I'm ready to talk about it. So, with that being said, I'm tired now. I need to regroup.
Page 30. Of blood in my eye. Revolution builds in stages. It isn't cool or romantic. It's bold and vicious. It's stalking and being stalked. The opposition rising above our level of violence to repress us, and our forces learning how to conquer this repression and again pulling ourselves above their level of violence. For the ones to use the term revolution, and then to further assign a level of acceptance of said mission, would be in possession of the term, would allow the term to possess them, and use the term like revolutionary. I was playing Dr. Khaled, and Dr. Khaled was talking about black nationalism. To the black nationalists, he said, which I am. To the Pan-African, which I am. To the Pan-African nationalist, which I am. To the Pan-African revolutionary nationalist, which I am. He showed the stages, the levels of commitment that is associated with the terminology. What level to which they have themselves in this liberation fighting force of African people and the decimation of our enemies, their level of commitment. Commitment to seeing beyond the theoretical level of black power, of African liberation, or the destruction of our enemies. We see that there is a level. So as it states, revolution builds in stages, so does the revolutionary. It isn't cool or romantic. We have those. This is trendy now. The European has found a way to take something that is dead serious, that is blood oath, that is life transformative to the African and critical to reach critical mass for the insurrection spirit to be regained and used and deduced a term to its acceptance, universality amongst all living things. And that term is called woke.
That's right.
So the hashtag, so the soliloquy that goes along with this. This is not for everybody.
Ain't for everybody.
This mission, this objective, this task, this goal, this attainable goal, this goal that will be attained. For people who would say we won't see revolution in their lifetimes, die now.
That's right.
Die immediately. And leave none of your lineage behind. Take them out first, and then you die. Because if you won't push for it in your lifetime, your children won't push for it in their lifetime. And they'll leave the burden to your great-grandchildren who will curse your name.
Mm-hmm.
Coward.
Mm-hmm.
Revolution builds in stages. So in order for revolution to build, it has to exist on a solid foundation. So there's a distinction. There is a distinction for this book that came out 50 years ago. In someone's lifetime. 35 to 50 years, as our lessons teach, is a lifetime. If they were born when this book came out in 1970, or its inception of the book was, this book, Blood in My Eye, came out after the transition, because there's no death for a warrior, and he should certainly transition in the warrior state. Of 1971, they'll be turning 49 this year. 49. It doesn't sound like much because it isn't much time. So when we start talking about back in the day, when we start talking about the yesteryears, and we start speaking about revolution being built in stages, and that revolution isn't cool or romantic. It had to attack the mania that's associated with. It had to attack the media that's associated with. It had to attack the mediums by which information was being brought forth to the people. Our people were still reading books. So in the book, contrary to the statement, if you want to hide something from a nigga, put it in the book. We were reading the books. We were reading the books, and we were writing the books. If George Jackson did not write his books, could you imagine what the hell would be said about this man? So you find this later with the hypocrisy of seize the time from its author for the author's subject to write about. Who came with the book Revolutionary Suicide. Who gave his life. And for the man who stood next to him, who would tell white America he thought it was going to be a time where he would have to take the life of a man who stood next to him, who fought for him, and who killed in his defense. Revolution builds in stages. It isn't cool or romantic. It is bold and vicious. And where do we find these bold, vicious African warrior brothers and sisters? Not out here. Hashtag woke AF. This isn't the training ground. This isn't the breeding ground for that spirit of insurrection. This was a warrior training ground. So if he promised you something, he ensured that his word was bond. and bond was life. And he found himself in a predicament, but further behind enemy lines as a prisoner of war with his classification of revolutionary. Something happened to a prison guard. It had nothing to do with him, but everything to do with his responsibility to what had been ascribed to him and what he allowed to possess him. Revolution. Revolutionary. So where are we in our stages of development? What's building up inside of us? It isn't cool or romantic. I have no issues with cool because it's a fire that's there. So when it's on, it's on. But when it's not on, there's a reversion back to cool. This is what will keep you from imploding. I do have an issue with romantic. I do. Because this is a labor of love. And if you are not in love with this, you will leave it. And you will bring back the authorities. Because you are not in love with it. And you don't give a fuck what happens to it once you leave it. You will bring back the authorities. It says it is bold and vicious. In this state, the one who was once the prey now becomes the predator. No longer is the prey seeking to evade its predator. It turns back on its heels and is face to face with its predator and now is in pursuit of the predator. And because we are in pursuit of the predator now becomes prey. Shout out to Dr. Inky. Ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. So as long as the prey is fleeing in fear for its life, everything is fine.
Yeah.
But revolution becomes the wall. Mm-hmm. Revolution becomes the wall when the back is against the wall. And there is no wall. It is a turning around and understanding that I do not have to be in fear for my life. I can take my destiny in my own hands and turn back on my heels and dig in and turn around on that predator who was stalking me. And as it states, it's stalking and being stalked. How could he have the trajectory of spirit to be behind prison walls in Soledad prison and see the Viet Cong? Stalking the terroristic fighting forces who parachuted in their land, the ghost-like terrorists that they described him to be, who set up booby traps for them, who put together the sham political mind job of some of their fighting forces masquerading as welcoming people. How could you be Vietnamese and be working with the U.S. coalition forces? They killed your whole family for that. So how could anybody be cheering for you? You see the difference? How could you land in a place Mogadishu, Somalia, and people be cheering for you. They lured you into a trap. They lured you into a trap. So you see, these repressive fighting forces are not in either one of these locations to this day. Not with permanent operating bases. Hell no. Revolution builds in stages. It isn't cool or romantic, but you have to have love for what you're doing. Otherwise, you will burn out. It is stalking and being stalked. The opposition rising above our level of violence to repress us. So, escalation of force is taking place. The force on force is happening. So you see the deductive reasoning taking place to black people unarmed on the bridge in Selma being met with a National Guard, the local and state police force, the fire department, and those emergency response. The emergency response, we have always been the emergency that deemed the response worthy for decimation. So unarmed, tearing up the city and destroying every devil in its path. Unarmed. Somehow this becomes cool. Somehow this becomes romantic. Somehow this becomes a labor of love outside the decimation of our enemy. Somehow this changes to we shall overcome someday. This somehow becomes we are not afraid, but we are backing away from tear gas, water hose, and police dogs. We are no longer going towards the objective. It goes in stages. It said it's stalked and being stalked. Oh, we did some goddamn stalking. We did some goddamn stalking. Nothing is going to stalk you unless it had been stalked. So when you're talking about stalk, you're talking about stealth. That means somebody is waiting in the wings for you. That means that they respect you as a formidable foe. They ain't just pop up in the daytime in front where everybody can see them. This is why these bastards wore masks. Stalking and being stalked. So this is the ebb and flow that's associated with warfare. The opposing rising above our head, above our level of violence to repress us, to calm that and quell that violence back down. And our forces, us, learning how to counter this repression, how to get out of this state of inaction, in submission, and again repeats itself again and again until finally the level is reached where the real power of our people is felt and the ruling class is suppressed. This is the goal, the aim, the objective of the fighting force and the people that is on the ground. This is Haiti. This is Haiti. This is Haiti. So when they be like, Sasta, oh, well, what was they doing in Haiti? They wasn't walking around with picket signs. I could fucking guarantee you that. They were using this. They were using every element, every weapon that they had at their disposal, physical, mental, emotional, and psychological. Do you know that children climbed into cannons so they could not fire? Did they have any fret in their fucking heart about that? No. No. We've been in forward areas. The children for some candy will tell you where the motherfucker was at who was making the bombs. Right there. Oh man. The children will walk you through the minefields of Vietnam.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like this is a different level of intel. We're not dealing with the same people. This religious war they be talking about, you ain't been on no bus as no Catholic child and a bus full of Catholics and the Protestant man gets on the school bus full of Catholic children with a vest and blows up the motherfucking bus. He didn't give a fuck. They're in Northern Ireland, the place where the improvised explosive device came from. Not the mines. The improvised explosive device where the suicide vest came from. We thought it was Iraq and Afghanistan. No. Death by suicide is a weapon. Go back to the kamikaze pilots. What the fuck did they tell them? For them to get on planes and sacrifice their life. That's a part of their culture. Seppuku is a part of their culture. Shit ain't new. You don't think that they watch tapes from Vietnam, Northern Ireland? You don't think they watch tapes from Somalia? They documented every engagement and came back stronger every time. You talk about some supposed to be simple people with no running water and no goddamn shoes. Found out how to put 25 cents worth of explosives in this and disable and kill coalition forces. 25 cents worth of explosives in this. Same water bottle you used to drink out of. You wouldn't think twice about running it over in the streets out here. You run it over there, that's the end of your motherfucking life. $25. $10 million vehicle. And everybody in it gone. That's for these would-be revolutionaries out here. That process repeats itself again and again until finally the level is reached where the real power of the people is felt. What is the real power of the people? Is it some kind of concession? This is real power of the people where we go into parliamentary procedures and some laws are enacted. Where's the real power? How is it felt? And who is it felt by? And the ruling class is suppressed. How do you suppress a ruling class? Question mark. The power of the people lies in its greater potential violence. when Dr. Huey P. Newton was speaking from prison, he said that we extend this love to the general black population. We extend this love, this revolutionary love that he was talking about. He said that we understand the system better than folks understand the system. And with this renewed understanding, we extend this love to the general black population. And with it, a renewed response and a more powerful response to the detriment of our enemies if we don't attain freedom. The power of the people lies in its greater potential violence, and this power of the people, that greater potential violence, can be brought to fruition only if the conditions in an urban society are created by the application of focal theory. The focal theory can be effective only when it does not allow itself to be isolated from the people, thus exposing itself to the vastly superior firepower of the corporate state. They talk about focal theory. Focal theory grew out the Cuban Revolution and refers to the more or less slow building up of guerrilla warfare of a mobile strategic force, which would be the nucleus of a people's army and of a future socialist state. So they're talking about this theory. So when people be talking about, hey, we need numbers to get this started, like, no, the numbers need to grow based off of this results. If you want numbers, you got to show some motherfucking results. So when they showed the little show of force in the movie in Panther in 1995, that's the favorite clip for mostly everybody. They showed the brother getting beat up by the police in the alley, and they hopped out of their car when they watch a pig program. And they came out with 360-degree perimeter and moved as one unit to this police. And these Irish motherfuckers recognized that they were outnumbered and outgunned, and they had no choice but to let the brother go. And not only did they see this fighting force, they saw the community right behind that fighting force, and that the community did not respond to their commands. They stayed right there at the distance to where the arms that the police had could not effectively kill anyone. They could injure them. They couldn't kill them. So a strategic show of force and a command in the presence is something that they showed, and their numbers grew overnight because of that show of force. This was a real life event that took place. My real life event for that was with Dr. Betty Shabazz at the airport, with them being their security, being her security. This is when they met that bastard Eldridge Cleaver, and when they became the Black Panther Party for self-defense, because they was rolling with some fake-ass Panthers, some bourgeoisie-ass Panthers. And they did run up on them, and they did fuck them up and make them change their fucking name. That happened. So I don't know where this kinder, gentler type of situation comes from. From these apologetists, these conformists, and all that shit. I do know where it comes from that threat. And after the devastation. But you was rolling with, see what I'm saying? Like, these minds come into play in regards to what's the goals and what's most important. Is your life more important than liberation? Not that you would just freely give your fucking life. That's suicide when you take your own life. That you would be in a position with a clear shot before your life is taken. That you transition in the defense of. Revolution builds in stages. What are the stages that you're putting yourself through, that you're being guided through, that you're being ancestrally sent through, that you have a divine decree within your life to move on? We're at an impasse now because the next level of revolutionary consciousness and activity cannot be reached without calling down a corresponding and perhaps a overreactionary repression. It is not the people who dread this next level of commitment. They do not understand the significance of it as of yet. The dread, the fear, rests with some of the old guard elements. So even in this time, they were referring to the black bourgeoisie and the elitist of the time, the toe tappers, the knee slappers, the buck dancing, half-hearted chicken hearts that were paid and integrated, that looked upon these liberators and freedom fighters as people that were expendable and that needed to be destroyed. So if we looked at Jonathan Jackson, we looked at George Jackson, if we looked at Assata Shakur, if we looked at Mumia Jamal, if we looked at Sekou Odinga and so many more who come in that great line of divine, Dr. Mutulu Shakur and the like, the renewed understanding that this situation, a revolution, had to continue on, and they had no frets in taking lives and giving up their life for it to come into fruition. So this is the mind frame of a Mumia Abu Jamal. This is of a Jonathan Jackson, this young mind. So this is how you could see a Freddie Gray. This is how you could see a Mike Brown. This is how you could see a Tamir Rice. This is how you could see a Trayvon Martin. These are all reminders. They study all of this. This is all documented through the police forces. This is all documented through the criminology courses, the criminal justice courses. This is all embedded and embossed in the psyche of our enemies, entrenched daily in their nationalist organizations, in their left wing, in their right wing, in their governmental structures, in their judicial structure. They're there, right there. And the everyday motherfucker that's walking around, they be talking this shit like, well, it's not the everyday cracker that's walking around, it's principality. Until any nigga will do. What goes off in the everyday cracker's head that shoots a motherfucker in Walmart? What goes off in the everyday cracker's head to see a young black man walking to his house and he dies because he's walking to his house? Don't be fucking talking to me about no goddamn principalities. Principalities are families. They're families, and this is family business. Principalities, municipalities, whatever the fuck you want to call them, they all come from families, and all of them got an address. You can play spooky if you want to. You think getting a fucking cop's badge number is going to do something for you? A name and a badge number. They don't even put their fucking names on their goddamn badge. They got some made up name from a book and a badge number to protect them. You going against a fraternity as an individual person and think somebody about to give you some information about one of their fraternal brothers or sisters. You lost your goddamn mind. So what are you prepared to do? Where's justice going to come from? Where's your reparations? How you going to get it? Who you going to get it from? And who you getting reparations for? You done labeling over there?
I've been done labeling. It was only for a hot minute. Denial and self-censorship create a comfort zone for the U.S. citizenry, generally uncritical and willing to accept digestible versions of historical personalities and world events. The reasoning behind denial and self-censorship do not make the public uncomfortable, even if that means diluting, sensationalizing, or lying about the truth. So, they tell you everything that you won't be able to stomach. Ultimately, when denial and self-censorship may not be sufficient for control of information, we take it from the top. I need to say this slow. Ultimately, when denial and self-censorship may not be sufficient for control of information, the state resorts to imprisonment. All imprisonment is political, and as such, all imprisonments carry equal weight. And what I was saying earlier, it doesn't. It doesn't. All, a lot of the punishments don't fit the crime. Society does, however, distinguish two categories of imprisonment, one for breaking the law, the other for political reasons. A difference is clear. It says American Indian Movement leader Leonard Peltier serving a federal sentence for his supposed role at Wounded Knee is considered a different type of prisoner than an armed robber serving a 5 to 7 year sentence. So it says, state policy reflects institutional needs. When the state as an institution cannot tolerate an outside threat, real or perceived, from an individual or group, the consequences at its command include isolation, persecution, and political imprisonment. All may occur in greater or lesser form, depending on the degree of the threat. Political incarceration removes threats to the political and economic hegemony of the United States. Even though in 1959, George Jackson initially went to prison as an everyday lawbreaker with 1 year to life sentence, It was his political consciousness that kept him incarcerated for 11 years. In 1970, George wrote, "International capitalism cannot be destroyed without the extremes of struggle. The entire colonial world is watching the blacks inside the U.S., wondering and waiting for us to come to our senses. Their problems and struggles with the American monster are much more difficult than they would be if we actively aided them. We are on the inside. We are the only ones, besides a very small white minority left, who can get out at the monster's heart without subjecting the world to nuclear fire. We have a momentous historical role to act out if we will. The whole world for all time in the future will love us and remember us as the righteous people who made it possible for the world to live on. If we fail through fear and lack of aggressive imagination, and that's me, world domination, and we are special people above all people, God's chosen people, yeah. Aggressive imagination, then the slaves of the future will curse us. What Knowledge said earlier, your children will curse you, as we sometimes curse those of yesterday. I see that all the time. I hear all the time. And we call that and we see that cursing going on to righteous ancestors of yesterday. We see that going on as well. So the ones who wasn't about that life and the ones who were are still being cursed together. I don't want to die and leave a few sad songs and a hump in the ground as my only monument. I want to leave a world that is liberated from trash, pollution, racism, nation-state wars and armies, from pomp, bigotry, parochialism, 1,000 different brands of untruth, and licentious, usurious economics. Yeah. All laws in the Torah, I want to say, there's laws against all of this nonsense right here. Okay. So this is what George Jackson wrote here. So we know why they do what they do. You know, our people, why they do what they do. It's because of fear. And a fear of telling the truth. And then you know, they fear being called extremists. Which we know it's not being extreme. It's called wanting to be liberated. It's wanting to be free. It's wanting to be our own people and not being subjugated to white supremacy and oppression. That's what it is. It's not extremism. So we need to stop taking to heart, like you know, words to heart, you know, because they say they see us one way or portray us to be a certain way. Doesn't mean that's what we are. We should just tell them exactly what we're doing and who we are. It's called fighting, right? So I thought that was awesome. I want to go back up a little bit and just talk about this Judeo-Christian thing that Jonathan Jackson Jr. talks about, because he breaks this whole thing down about colonization. It's a lot to read, but I'm not going to read everything. I'm just going to just go over a few parts of it. It says here, it basically asking the question why George Jackson has not been an integral part of mainstream consciousness. And it says here, racial and conspiracy theory aside, there are rational reasons for his exclusion. They stem not only from the hardline revolutionary aspects of George's philosophy, but more importantly from the nature of the political system that he existed in and under. And then he goes to talk about Howard Zinn. He wrote the book called A People's History of the United States. And that's another resource, another book that you might want to go in there and omit things that don't fit and keep things that are true. So when you read this book, you're going to have to do more research to make sense of it. It has a lot of information in it. And So, you're going to have to do your due diligence and go a little bit farther with it. It says here in People's History of the United States, the history of any country presented as the history of a family conceals fierce conflicts of interest, sometimes exploding, most often repressed, between conquerors and conquered, masters and slaves, capitalists and workers, dominators and dominated. U.S. history is essentially the type of hidden history without denying important mitigating factors. The United States of today is strongly linked to the values and premises on which it was founded. Now we're going to go here. It is a settler colony founded primarily on two basic pillars, upheld by the Judeo-Christian tradition. Now, Israelites, calm down. If you're listening to this, calm down. It's truth here. Genocide of, so Judeo-Christian tradition, genocide of indigenous peoples and slave labor in support of a capitalist infrastructure. Although the Bible repeatedly exalts mass slaughter and oppression, Judeo-Christian morality is publicly held to be inconsistent with them. So let me read that again. So he makes a bold statement here, which I respect him for. I'm not going to get upset about this. People have their own, interpretations of what they think the Bible is and their understanding. But he says here, although the Bible repeatedly exalts mass slaughter and oppression, Judeo-Christian morality is publicly held to be inconsistent with them. So they read the Bible, it seems, but they took it to 1,000. So Judeo-Christian tradition is genocide of indigenous peoples and slave labor in support of capitalist infrastructure. George Jackson was labeled as a communist, right? Knowledge, right? He called himself a communist.
No.
Okay, so whoever wrote that he was a communist was incorrect.
He's an African.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so these English words, right? Once again, we have.
Let me read it real quick.
Okay.
In the letter to Angela Davis, Jackson wrote, "If my enemies, your enemies, prove stronger than us, at least I want them to know that they made one righteous African man extremely angry." That's it.
Okay.
I don't need to see shit else.
Okay. And it says here, basically, that these people took, I guess, what they learned out of the Bible and put it to 1,000. But the Judeo-Christian morality is inconsistent with Bible. Even the Bible is inconsistent. It says here, this dissonance evident within the nation structure from the beginning informs the state's first function to oversimplify and minimize immoral events in order to legitimize history and the state's very existence simultaneously. Then it says, ironically, traditional Judeo-Christian morality is a perfect vehicle for genocide, slavery, and territorial expansion. As a logical progression from biblical example, expansion and imperialism culminated in the United States with the concept of manifest destiny. So it's a mix of communism and capitalism, which held that it was a colonist's inherent right to expand and conquer. Further, it was a duty, the white man's burden, to save the natives, to attempt to convert all heathens encountered. Protestant Calvinism provided a set of ethics that fit perfectly with the colonist conquest. So he goes into the sociology of religion, he goes into Calvinism. I know a lot of Black people who call themselves Calvinists. And it says here, so it gives a breakdown on all of this stuff. Trying to make sense of what white supremacy is. I mean, I think it does a good job. explaining it. Here it says, clearly objective history is an impossibility. This understood, the significant problem lies in how the general population defines the term. History implies that truth is being told. So when people talk about history, I'm a historian, I'm this, I'm that. I go back into the books, primary sources, blah, blah, blah. It is just a general misconception that history implies that truth is being told. It is an unfortunate fact that history is unfailingly written by the victors, which in the case of the United States are not only the original imperialists, but the majority of the founding fathers dedicated to uniting and strengthening the existing mercantile class among disjointed colonies. There can be no doubt that from the creation of this young nation, history as a created and perceived entity moved further and further away from the objective ideal. Genocide necessary for the development of the modern capitalist economy. So if you go around calling yourself a capitalist, it's really a shame, because you need to, obviously you're not looking at the origins of these things. According to Howard Zinn, was rationalized as a reaction to the fear of Indian savages. So they took out all of the, I guess, indigenous people, they would call it, in quote unquote indigenous people, for the development of the modern capitalist economy, because they were in fear of Indian savages. Slavery was similarly construed. So there is a fear of a black man. We know this. So that's what it's saying here. So that's why our people were enslaved. Let's see. Let me go down. The bootstrap ideology. Do you hold to that knowledge or no?
Who?
Bootstrap ideology. This tenant hold. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that pull up the bootstrap thing from our own people, and recently.
For who?
It's just saying that black people need to pull up their bootstraps. It says this tenant holds that all the poor need to do is pull themselves up by their bootstraps to be materially successful.
Yeah.
Accordingly, those who do not do so deserve to be in their situation and are considered unworthy.
Right. Gotta be. Gotta be.
And if a black person saying this, they're a neo slave. This is crazy. What happened to God-given rights? God-given way of life, natural law. What happened to that?
What happened to Europeans coming to this country? Killing the people that was here. Whatever the fuck you want to call it. And then bringing in new people here. Bringing in new people here. Exploiting them. And getting rich off of that labor.
Right.
Their free labor.
Right. For the development of the modern capitalistic
and
economy.
After that was established. Sending letters back to Europe, offering land and land grants and money based off of the labor amassed off of the backs of our ancestors who were not paid, who are still not paid.
And they do this today, right?
Restitution. Continual. If I could segue for 1 second.
Okay.
The new stimulus plan that's in the works, the bill, would include people documented and undocumented who just came here, as long as they were here in January and continue to stay here while the payments are received. they're entitled to this new bill in regards to stimulus. Why do you got people working, since they want to paint the picture of class, working class, middle America, who haven't received any stimulus from this original stimulus? It shows the equity and value of proposed middle class, since you think this is a class struggle and it has nothing to do with race. The disparities and the wealth gap and the achievement gap and the educational gap and the economic gap has nothing to do with race. It's simply class. Remember, this is where these 4 lines were drawn and formulated, because when we was talking about Sappho, Dr. Wright, and Dr. Wright was talking about these would-be contemporaries who existed in the time, in their 20s, saying that this went from a race-first struggle to a class-only struggle to an ass struggle. Because many of our brothers traded in their revolutionary ties and their race-first ties and their race consciousness ties for white bitches. For white bitches, white funding, and white acceptance. Okay? This is why George was not counted amongst them. So when you start talking about this whole situation in regards to this class struggle, this proletarian struggle, this Marxist struggle, this Mao shit that they were talking, and many of you find these revolutionaries today spouting off of this shit, they made a divide from their African culture and the places that they were liberating in West Africa for this other shit that you find today. This relationship with Asia. This relationship with Asia. This relationship with a Ho Chi Minh. This relationship with a Mao Zedong, who got their motivation to fight ancestrally from Robert F. Williams and Mabel Williams, who was in their region. The same in South America. Black folk from the South, from the East, from the Midwest, and the West, who fought and killed and died for the liberation of the entire fucking planet. Not just Africa, the entire planet, who no longer get a say, who are demeaned, who are disrespected, who are exploited, and how they bring these other minds to the forefront. Fuck every last one of them. Fuck every last one of them and their offspring. None of them raise the flag in our defense. None of them. I don't give a fuck who you bring me. I don't give a fuck who you bring. Let's start looking in totality and see who our friends are. You get African people who come amongst us and say Dr. John Henry Clark was wrong, talking about we got friends. No, we don't have no motherfucking friends. Never had, never will. Never will. If you got fair weather friends, whether they're African or not African, you don't need them. Fair weather. There was people who were paid to kill George Jackson, who, when presented the opportunity, recanted. after coming amongst him, they couldn't do it. Crackers who was paid, who were they? Are they allies? Hell no. We got a problem. We look for that shit. Like we rooted and try to sniff it out. We overlook all of our family, all of the atrocities that happen to our family to find a fucking John Brown, a William Garrison Lloyd, or any of those bastards, to find a Jane Elliott today, to find a goddamn Tim Wise. Fuck them. You overlook a Steve Coakley. You overlook a Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. You got niggas running around disrespecting and dishonoring their names who don't need a tongue or a fucking head, who would play these games. You come to me, Millie Mount, telling me about somebody who got a black soul and ain't a black man. Telling me somebody who got a black soul and ain't a black woman. Get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the game. Like this shit is socially acceptable in this social distancing type of situation. I couldn't be in close quarters with you talking that shit and allow you to leave out of there. Not me.
Right.
Not me. It's just Trump shit. It's just Trump shit. You don't put nobody in the game who ain't ready to play. This is what the bench is for. Matter of fact, they ain't even good enough to sit in the goddamn stands. They should not be even having access to watch the game. Now, if it's a player, you accepted that player on your team. That player is on your team. That player must be brought to a position within themselves where they no longer think about themselves as primary. They think of themselves as secondary, and the victory of the team is primary. And whatever the fuck they got to do out there on the court or on the field for victory, they're prepared to do it. Otherwise, they can't be on the team. Want to bring me some disease-infested bastard devil and say, this is an example right here. So after I kick their ass in the volcano, you going right the fuck after. You should jump first because you know I'm coming after you. Don't make me waste my time and my energy telling me about some goddamn disease-infested devil, male, female, or child, and expect some kind of sympathy from me. The fuck is wrong with you? You could not sit 1,000 black people in a space and tell them about the atrocities of our ancestors and not hear all of the snotting and boogering and tears in the face. And then take them out of this place and say, these are the people who are responsible, and see who's going to respond. Shit's crazy.
Where should I go next?
But these are the people that are surrounding your political prisoners. These are the people who are asking for your money for their appeals, because every time an appeal comes into place, they tax whatever dollar amount is on there. These are the people who have these foundations. This is where the money is coming from. And then they start going back to saying, this is how Huey was freed. This is how the Move 9 was freed. They start talking and playing on your heartstrings, and you're conflicted as a liberator. because you're not in a position to do this solely amongst us. You can't even get no damn funds for anything that you're doing amongst us. You got to do it off the muscle. So you can't be taking care of the community, feeding the youth, checking on the elderly, doing everything that you got to do on a daily basis, and then try to get some brothers and sisters from behind enemy lines, further behind enemy lines than you. So they got endowments, they got grants, they know how to play these games with these figures, and they come to you with a scheme, without a ski mask, and they stick you up. And they tell you that these funds is going for trial defense, that these funds are going to legal fees, that these funds are going to appeals. And that might be right and exact. But you find yourself out there. When my brother was behind enemy lines, this organization was out there raising money to get him out. This liberation fighting force was out there every single day and night. And they raised the money to get him out. And the organization that he sojourned with left him in there. They left him in there. That he sacrificed his life for, that assassination attempts on his life for this organization who left him there to rot in prison. This organization that had soldiered with him on the side through a few maneuvers got him out of prison. Like Tupac was in prison. Death Row got him out of prison. This was a similar situation. The East Coast left you to rot, and the West Coast get you out of prison. Similar situation. So, this is how it goes. This is how it goes. Could you imagine being in solitary confinement for 30 years and every day, twice or three times a day, the prison guards that's over there when you're in segregated population come to you and say, where are your people at? Where's those niggas that you were fighting for, revolutionary? Where are those niggas? They write you any letters? They send you any money? Where are those niggas? For 30 years. How come those niggas that you fought so hard for ain't trying to get you out of prison? The psychological strain, the spiritual strain, the physical and emotional strain associated with being in segregation already. And these people come to visit you daily, like clockwork, to tell you about your people, to question you about your people. And then you get letters, then you get money, then you get visits from your enemy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You become some fucking elementary school, middle school, high school, college, fucking letter program. When you're getting letters and pictures and all of that. We love you. We hope you're doing well. I wish I could come see you. Here goes some money. This is what you're getting from your enemy. This is what you're getting from your enemy. Not from your family, from your enemy. You ain't getting letters from your Ibn, your son. From his children, your grandchildren. They sending you letters and you don't get them. They sending you money, you don't get them. You don't get the money. You get the letters from these crackers though. You get the money from these crackers though. They control your narrative. These crackers put things in place for you to write, for you to correspond, for you to create books and revenue. These crackers do it, not your family. They get grants. They finagle in the system and find a way for appeal after appeal to do the whole court case over. Not your friends, not your loved ones, not your family. These crackers, these organizations, with everything that you're against. And you're longing for a data release. This is the psychology of what it means to be a revolutionary in the prison system, to be a political prisoner. I don't know what they're doing to them crackers. I don't give a fuck what they're doing to them crackers or anybody else. These natives and these Latin people that y'all keep bringing. I don't give a fuck about what they're doing to them. I could care less. I know the psychology of our people. I know the resentment that comes along with being betrayed, being denied. This is the game that they play. And they play it to your death. They play it to your death. Imam Jamal Alameen, A-Trap Brown, Dr. Matula Shakur, Mumia Jamal. And so many more. These are the ones that we know. There's thousands and thousands of them. Thousands and thousands of them. You're going to bring up some natives' name. Let the natives take care of him. The natives that call us niggas, that own our ancestors. They let these crackers be $5 Indians. The fuck we supposed to do with that? I don't hear that shit. For some of us, they want to hear it.
We're not supposed to believe everything. Yeah, we're not. Yeah, we're not supposed
That's
to be able.
their
We're not
politics.
supposed to believe everything. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where's your room in that bleeding fucking heart for African people?
Mm-hmm. That was the question we started with, right?
Yeah. Where's the blood in your eye for African people? For African independence, for African liberation, and the decimation of all of our enemies, internal and external. Where's the blood in your eye? Where's the blood in your spirit? Where's the love in your heart for your people and for your future generation? What you willing to do? See why I can't get serious after 12 o'clock? You see that?
Let me read this because this right here is a good part, and then we can leave it alone because people need to understand this. Living in under a capitalist society and what that means for you Black people. It says in Georgia's Day,
You
others.
want some orange juice?
I'm good. I'm good. In Georgia's Day, others who consider themselves left of center or even revolutionary concern themselves with inner city reform issues, mostly Black ghettos. So George was considered with the ghetto, aka his own people. Problem of and debate about inner city still exists. However, recognition of a problem and analysis of that problem are two very different challenges. The demand to better only predominantly Black inner city conditions is unrealistic at best. Under this system here, in the capitalist structure, there must be an upper, middle, and especially a lower class. Improving Black neighborhoods is the equivalent of ghettoizing some other segment of the population, poor whites, Hispanics, Asians, etc. Nothing intrinsic to the system would change, only superficial alterations that would mollify the liberal public. So basically what it's saying is that, and we see this when you said that these people get, other people get grants and all these things, and this is how they make it into your neighborhood. These foreigners making it to your neighborhood because they are enticed with benefits to come to this country and to do business, to contribute to capitalism. If the Black community is changed, and that means another another part of the population would have to become the poor people, right? So they can't have that. So guess who stays poor, and guess what? Black ghettos continue to exist. So you can make it look better, but it's going to continue to be low class because it's set up that way. So I find that interesting. Not really, but that just explains that the ghetto will always be here under a capitalistic society. So a few rise up out of it. They call that progress, they call that success, and they call everybody left in the ghetto good for nothings. People who don't want better for themselves. I don't see how they can't see it, that the government of the United States supports capitalism. It's a capitalist country, and these are the conditions. Bottom line, these are the conditions. So that was really, I was glad you brought out that whole thing with grants. Even to this day, they go searching outside this country for other people to come in and to participate. They're not going to allow us to do it because they need poor people. They need the worker. They need the neo-slave in order to make their wealth. So that is just a fact. So should Black people be participating in capitalism? No, absolutely not. So there we go. So they call it, it's this term called reformism. And George writes in Blood in My Eye, reformism is an old story in America. There have been depressions and socioeconomic political crises throughout the period that mark the formation of the present upper class ruling circle and their controlling elites. But the parties of the left were too committed to reformism to exploit their revolutionary potential. So this is what he writes. So it says George's involvement with the prison reform movement should therefore be seen as a matter of survival. Unlike the reformist left, prison oppression was directly affecting him. His balanced reform activities, improving prisoners' rights while speaking out against prison as an entity, were required to make living conditions tolerable enough for him to continue on his revolutionary path. Simply, he did what he had to do to survive, created space while simultaneously pursuing his radical theories. So this is what we're dealing with, people. And it's also saying that, George understood that without the collective, that that liberation just was out of sight. But I mean, it does take a voice, and they make it seem like it's just one person, or maybe it's like a group of people, like a small group of people at a certain point in time who's fighting for the liberation of Black people, when it's a lot of people, a lot of Black people out there doing it. They just don't make it in the books. You don't hear about them because guess what? The victor writes the history book. So that's all I want to say about that. Do you have anything to add to that, Knowledge, or no?
Nope.
Okay. George Jackson provided us all with a radical education, a viable alternative to viewing not only the United States, but the world as a political entity. He gave the disenfranchised a lens through which they could clearly see their situation and become more conscious about it. He wrote in April 1970, "It falls into place. I see the whole thing much clearer now. How fascism, this is a fascist country, people, has taken possession of this country. The interlocking dictatorship from county level on up to the Grand Dragon in Washington, D.C." Now, he spoke well about this. I believe it's even at the local level, the city level. Forget the county. It's all the way from the bottom all the way to the top, and it's all connected. So that throws out the idea of voting. That should all be thrown in the trash. So he threw that out there. It says here he did his due diligence in having us see to make us more conscious. Now this is consciousness here. You don't hear too much about consciousness. When you hear about consciousness in the conscious community, you're hearing about your history as a Black person. I guess it would be different spiritualities and ideologies and stuff on that level, but you're not hearing too much about the oppression of Black people. I don't see it. I don't see it. Only few speak about it, and I think more people should speak more about it as well. It's just I think that we're not speaking about it because we want to keep what we have and try to get more. I think that's what it is. So you really can't condemn something that you want to participate in. So that's how I'm seeing it. I don't discourage people from getting an education or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But you need to recognize and be truthful with yourself and understand that the system works against you. And that's just the way it is. Individualism doesn't count. It just doesn't. So they said that I heard something my daughter told me today that Kanye West is now a billionaire. But what does that have to do with the Black community? Nothing. What can he do? Nothing. Even somebody with $1 billion, a Black person with $1 billion cannot do nothing for his community. Nothing at all. And that says a lot. So what we continue to do is enslave our children. At least try to kind of educate them about the United States government and white supremacy. At least teach them that, so that they're not going in blind and thinking that they're getting somewhere. Let them understand the game, that's being played here, so that they can move in a righteous way. Because there's nothing righteous about capitalism. There's nothing righteous about white supremacy. There's nothing righteous about any of this. The system that we're under, in this social contract that we're born into. Nothing righteous about it. Understand your children are, and we all contributing to an unrighteous beast. And he couldn't have said it any better. It all falls into place, he said. And he says, from the county level on up to the Grand Dragon in Washington, D.C., this is who we fuel. And we need to stop. So, I thank the Most High God for revolutionaries like this, speaking power to truth. And though they tried and they failed, because I've heard those arguments too. Well, they failed, they did this. No, but the information is out there. The information is there. It's clear. You can try to throw it out if you want to, and be a neo-slave if you want to. It's okay. Do you. But you are now guilty because you know better. And that's the bottom line. So yeah, I think I'm done with that. Are we done being serious now?
Yep.
Everything wrong with Black Lightning. Okay. No, we're not gonna talk about it right now, but I just want to mention something here. His daughter said, well, what about eye for an eye, right? She gonna try to do that dude who did her boyfriend. He was like, he said, this is what Black Lightning said. He said Hammurabi's code was on eye for an eye was to limit vengeance, not to justify it. Get out of here. That's one thing that was wrong with Black Lightning. I've had it with that. I mean, I'm in the last season, thank God, but I mean, I can't with this TV show. I can't. So, they making that black superhero look real weak, really weak in his in and out of his costume. It's so sad. But anywho, all right, I'm done with that. I just wanted to, bring that one thing out.
Give us the top 5, huh? I want to know.
The top five. Everything that's wrong with it.
Yeah.
Look, you got this black dude who ain't black, who's an albino. He's black, right? I mean, doing everything he can to decimate the black community. Like, that is his goal. But I mean, okay, so he can move white people. He got all this pull, all this money. He control the police, even high government officials, all this stuff. He can do all this stuff, but he can't help his own people in the black. That right there, I don't even understand. I don't understand. The deception is that he thinks he can rule the world by himself. But I haven't made it to the end of the series yet, so we'll see how that goes. Because I think that's where it's gonna go. He's gonna fall. So that's number 2. Number 3 is oh God, the homosexuality in there, that has got to go bye-bye. Number 4. I'm at number 4. The sometimey black woman in there. We need to go into that character, because what they did her wrong. They try to redeem her in season 3. But the first 2 seasons, I don't really understand that. And number 5, that white sidekick he got that raised him to make him such a sensitive black man. That is, oh my good. I think that's the worst thing in the whole damn thing. I think. And he got his kids calling him uncle. So that's top 5 right there. I mean, that dude could take over the whole world, but yet won't bring black people with him. Like, okay. I mean, he killing everybody, but I don't know. I really don't know. DC Comics is. I don't know what they was trying to do with that. I really don't know what they were trying to do with that. The music is pretty good. They mixing new stuff with a lot of the old stuff. I did hear one Wu-Tang song, season 3, 2 episodes ago. What else? I heard some old R&B hits.
What Wu-Tang song you heard?
I can't remember which one it was, but it was there. It was. Let me check my episodes. You can know.
Check the episodes.
Yeah, I'm gonna check my episodes, and
I need to know.
Okay, because it was in there. My Netflix. So I'm on episode. Oh, I'm still in season 2. Dang, I thought I was in 3. Season 2, episode 16. So it got to be in episode 14. And I'm gonna just go. I'm gonna just Google it because let me see. Black Lightning season 2 Wu-Tang song. Okay. Oh, I didn't spell it right. It's not telling me. I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna have to let you know. I'm gonna have to go back to episode. So I believe it was season 2 episode. It's probably 13 or 14. It's in there because I heard it today, but it's not telling me here in Google. Learn who's playing and who. No. Let me just take season 2 out. Okay. Black Lightning. Nope, it ain't telling me. I'll get it for you. But I heard it. And yeah, I mean, it's getting. I feel like the series is getting better, but it's getting weird now. All these kids are high off of black lightning. Green light, and they turn into superhuman kids and people. So, anywho. All right, I'm done being serious. Even though we could have went we can go for hours. This conversation is like the hours upon hours of you can't do it all in one sitting, not even 2. I'm finding. We didn't even get to really go through these letters. Let me see. My primitive. I mean, it was just a bit, but yeah, I'm gonna leave it alone. I think the date says 1994. Is that correct? The re-release? I think the re-release is 1994 with the forward from his son. Cause they took it out of print. I know that on Blood in My Eye, they like to keep that away from us. That's annoying. See, now I don't know if you disappear or not. I don't know if you're here or not. I can't tell. But Violence and okay, so I'm gonna leave it alone. I am like for real, for real. It's just way too much information to be dealing with at this point. And besides, I'm tired now. I was trying to get but Niles has those books and can read from them. Um, but anywho, yep, that was my rant about Black Lightning. Straight up rant. I thought I was going to see some dope stuff in this one, but I was highly mistaken. Highly, I don't know what I was like, ooh, another black superhero. You know what? Luke Cage has got us like, you know, we feel like every every black superhero should be like that. This guy, I don't even understand him. He's too emotional. I think that's what it is. He's just way too much. Not saying the black man can't be emotional. That's a good thing, I think. I mean, as long as he puts his energy in the right place, know how to control that thing. But this guy is like a big baby. I can't hear you, Knowledge.
So Luke Cage was the same kind of baby, a big bitch.
Yeah, he was a baby. He was, but he started realizing he started realizing at the end of season 2.
Bitch.
It took him to the end of season 2 to figure it out. Okay, it took him a little while, but he figured it out.
He had to get his ass whooped. That's why.
Yeah. Exactly. But at least he got it together. And we'll never know how it's gonna go because it cut his show.
It was good. Cut it right on time.
Black Lightning don't make no sense. That's why they keep it. That's why they were able to make so many episodes of it. I mean, I just
There was a hint in the relationship between Shades and that other black dude that Mariah was talking about, but they didn't show it. Black Lightning, they showed it, so it can stay because it's faggot filled.
Wait a minute. You mean between Shades and who?
Well, dude that he killed.
They were alluding to that? You felt like?
Black Mariah said they was fucking in prison. Yep.
I don't want to hear about that. But okay. Shade shouldn't even been in the movie. In the TV show in the first place. But you know, that his brother employed him. So that's how that happened.
And Luke was scared of Shades.
He was scared. You think he was scared of Shades?
No, yeah, he was.
I don't know. I didn't get that out of it. Not the way he was acting in prison. I didn't think he was afraid of Shades. So why would he be afraid of him on the street?
Shades gonna beat his ass.
Well, I mean, jumping somebody is. I don't know. Okay. Getting jumped and getting knocked off by one person, that's two different things.
Did he ever fight Shades?
Did he ever fight Shades? No. No, he didn't. Well, what's the name? But he said to Pop that if he wanted to take care of him, he would. That's what he said in the barbershop. Remember?
Did he ever confront Shades?
No, because Pop told him to fall back.
Shades walked in and Luke ducked. He remembered that ass whooping that he took.
Oh,
Luke in.
I remember. Look, Eddie Kane Jr. is in Black Lightning.
Hey.
Yes, he is. Playing some crazy scientist. I'm gonna leave it at that. I said, "Oh my God, look at Eddie Kane Jr. Oh my God!" And I started clapping at the TV, at the screen. Yeah, I started clapping because I was like, "Oh my God, where he been? He's such an old man now. They all Chauncey, old man. I mean, they all old. You know, Chauncey played. You know, I don't know why I'm calling this man Chauncey from Men's Society. He wanted to play Chauncey.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played the pastor.
He was old then.
Yeah, he was older, but he wasn't that old. He wasn't old like he is now.
He was 700 in there, so he got to be like 1,000 now.
Well, he played the pastor of the church in there. I mean, they got all these faces that we see from before, you know, in this series, which I can appreciate that. You know, it's giving them jobs.
Oh, Clifton Powell. Oh, Pinky.
Yes. Yeah, or Pinky, but I call him Chauncey for some. I just, you know, tell him my age, but I call him Chauncey. The one who snitched on Old Dog, that one. Yep, because he was mad because Kane beat him down the back of the gun. Boom, boom. Messed him up for coming on to his girlfriend. He was mad. He could have killed him.
That's why he took the clip out and the bullet.
Yep.
Yo, dog, you strapped? You know it. He wanted to see some death. He didn't want to see none of that shit. He did with the little head, the little butt to the head.
Yep. He could have killed him. So it was payback.
He loaded that bitch. He put one in the head too. I want that damn Glock. See, that's the fake shit. You know how sensitive a Glock is. That shit would have went off and killed somebody in that bitch.
Is that what that was? Okay, I wasn't paying attention. I haven't seen that movie since I was young. I was young, so I don't remember what was in it. But all I remember, he got beat down by it. I mean, the movie mistakes with the guns, it's ridiculous. But you know, it is what it is. For effect. It's for people who really don't know about, you know. I don't critique that type of thing. I critique the racial undertones all the time. You know, it gets on people's nerves, but whatever. But I don't critique the the movie mistakes and stuff.
It was a little non-lethal approach. He took the magazine out of the weapon. So you're supposed to think now, okay, the gun is not loaded. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But he cocked it before he gave it to him. So he took the clip out and put it on the table like he slammed it on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes over there with that Glock 9 and bashes him in the head, which is, you know, that's all. Like the Glocks, they got some weight, especially those ones in the 90s. They was ill-formed. They was heavy for no reason. So I know he beat the shit out of him with that Glock.
Yeah, he beat him down.
But he had his finger in the trigger well. He had that finger in the trigger well.
Yeah, so the gunshot went off.
With a round in the chamber. Yeah. He would have put that hair trigger that shit had. Hair trigger. Like you do that.
Yeah,
you do that. That bitch is going off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that was just. I mean, who keeps a tape of a murder? Like, really? He didn't think. You know what? It's just. He deserved to go to jail at
When
that point.
5 get a hold of this tape.
Yep. He put it in the envelope.
He was a juvenile though. Like he was like 15, 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't go to prison. He went to juvenile.
For murder?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I mean, he gonna be moved to adult prison when he turn 18. That don't
17.
He's still going to prison.
Yeah, in California. He went from that to the inkwell.
Yeah. But he kept the tape.
Yeah.
He really did it to get back at Kane. He wasn't really thinking about old dog. He was thinking about Kane, but Kane ended up dying anyway. So you know,
hold up, pull that motherfucking shotgun now. You seen him with that shotgun? Y'all ready to put a hole in the motherfucker? Like that's a motherfucker with no discipline whatsoever.
None. I like the effects though. Blasted. I'm not sure how the little boys live, but you know, but because it should have been coming out the other side, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, that's a movie for you.
Mm-hmm.
The most dramatic hit was Ricky when they got him in the back. Don't he know he's supposed to hit the wall? He didn't know he was supposed to hit. His brother got all this knowledge, taught him nothing.
He didn't want to listen. That's why he beat his ass before he left.
He was supposed to hit the wall. Not run, not turn around and run, and not right in a straight path. It's supposed to be a moving target. Nothing. I'm like, oh my God. He had all that wall. He had fences too. He had fences. He had wall fences. Everything.
I don't know about that range and that position that he was in with that little motherfucker with that goddamn shotgun.
Yeah, but I mean, for movie purposes, he got caught up in his back. So I mean,
2 shots.
Yeah, 2 shots. Yeah. Yeah.
His ass would have fell out that fucking little ass Jetta or whatever the fuck they was in CRX.
I mean, like, I could see if you at gunpoint, you know, you don't want to move. Execution style, you're gonna die. So it's not even you can't move. It's nothing you can do. But when you have somebody at a range like that, you know they there. You there's things you could do. And his brother was a gangster. Ain't teach him nothing. I just thought that was odd. But you know, it's just a movie.
I'm gonna look at the little scene and then.
Yeah, he had walls. He had fences. He could have worked that to his advantage.
Trey already knew what to do. Trey was gone.
Yeah. And he should have technically been carrying his own piece.
Double barrel shotgun.
Yeah, he should have been carrying his own piece. Whatever that piece was, he should have been carrying something. You don't walk around no hood like that.
They got around there too late.
No, I mean, Ricky, your brother is a known gangbanger, and you walking around with nothing. You got gangbangers on your porch every single day. It just don't make no sense to me. It really doesn't.
Give me the motherfucking gun, Trey. Look, how the hell did they know to ride and walk on the fucking the damn? Oh, they had a little Jetta too.
Yeah, They had a Jetta. It was red. Mm-hmm. I mean, a car full of guns. and he should have been walking around. They should have let him go by himself.
He went right in the house to get his shit. He knew automatically what time it was. They wasn't riding through there for him.
Right.
They had already pulled the dude on the wheelchair up on the porch.
Right.
Because they was ready.
Right, but then he thought about it. Ricky not in the house.
And it split up.
Yep. It was like, oh my God, Rick. And then that's when they thought about it. You have to understand, when you're a target, your whole family becomes a target. It's like, I don't know what people don't understand about that. So you need to remember how to conduct yourself in the street before you get in trouble. Know how to conduct yourself. And remember your mama.
He out here trying to play the lotto.
Yeah.
With the goddamn Jetta.
Which I don't understand, because he was supposed to go away to college on scholarship. Was he old enough to play the lotto when he's 17?
Yeah.
He wasn't even old enough. So, dag doggone Koreans. Doing illegal stuff. Like, come on.
He hit him with the double barrel shotgun, leaning out of the Jetta.
Leaning at one hand. One hand.
Yeah.
Was it one hand? Yeah.
No, he had two. He made it look good.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But a double barrel shotgun. 2 slugs coming out. One he got in the leg.
Right.
It didn't make no sense. Just didn't make no sense.
Right. Ricky looked up and saw them. He was far enough away from them to get away. He probably would have got...
He had his eyes closed already. They ain't had no money for this pill. He was just waiting to die.
Right. Right. I mean, he was far enough away. Like I said, at gunpoint, yeah, he can't do nothing, but he was so far away, he could have did something. He just dropped everything and turned around. That's the wrong thing you do. Like, oh, but he was scared. A gun is being pointed at. That's why your children need to be trained. Because you could tell if somebody know how to use a firearm or not. Like, you could. And I was telling you about those people, those armed people who don't know what they're doing. They're the most dangerous people on the planet. I'm telling you.
Let's see him get shot one more time with his dumb ass.
And I don't know if people understand, but shooting long range is not easy.
And he froze.
Right. It's not easy. So he could have got away.
That shit looked like it ripped through him, though.
It did. It busted him right in the chest. Like, it was like a perfect shot. Like, which is false. Because I don't even know how many times did he fire. How many times? It was only 2 times, and he got it perfect twice.
He got him in the leg. He should have just laid down. He would have lived.
But that's perfect. That's perfect then. So he was able to catch him 2 times. 2 times, 2 shots.
That sawed-off double barrel hung. Well, knocked his little ass out of the goddamn.
Right. I should have busted him in the face. Yes. Anybody using a sawed-off need to be shot. Like, seriously. I mean, I don't know. Whatever. It's because they can't handle a full. You know what? Forget it. I'm not gonna even.
That range right there could blew his leg off.
Right, it should have blew his leg off technically. but it caught him. He caught him twice. Like, all right.
No shells, no recoil, nothing. I love it. I'm telling you. Amazing.
I mean, they couldn't hire a marksman to teach them how to do this scene correctly.
No. I ain't had no money for this shit.
They didn't have no money for They could have got an ex somebody. An ex somebody.
I need somebody to tell me if they even got paid. Nobody got paid for this shit. Nobody got no money. Ice Cube might have got $2. That's why he ain't paying nobody on Friday.
Friday was low budget, but it was great. Messing around with the Mexicans. How come the Mexicans was able to come in their neighborhood? You can't go into a Mexican neighborhood, I tell you that.
Right.
You can't go in there, but they were in the black community. How was that possible? And you see how they messed him up, right? They gave him some bad stuff, and he ain't been right ever since. See?
Mm-hmm.
And then they laugh at him. That is it was only 2 shots and he went down. Okay.
Right.
All right. With a sawed off. Got you.
Double barrel,
which is very unpredictable. But whatever. It's for people who can't handle the entire thing. That's all that is. Or you can't get it back in the car because it's too long. Like you can't, it's not good for drive-bys, I guess. So that's why they cut it down. Mm-hmm. I don't know the logistics. Okay, I'm not a gangbanger. I don't do drive-bys. So I wouldn't know, but that's what I'm guessing. And to make it lighter, I would think shotgun will blow a hole in a deer. Like, right. I mean, a hole in I've seen it. I was like, oh my goodness, that deer had. I mean, and you have to hit a deer in the correct place for it to die. So it will suffer until you get to it and kill it. Like if you're able to kill it. I mean, it's a dirty job, but But if you have any experience with shotguns. And accidents do happen when you go out and hunt. You can make a mistake and shoot somebody, kill somebody. I'm sure a lot of hunters have gotten killed by mistake.
Yep.
Messing around with those guns. Well, hey, a slingshot could take you out.
Yep. She'll be good and crying again.
Yep, crying. His father was like emotional. Like he had no emotion. His father, because he said he's seen too many people die. It's like he no longer had, it no longer moved him because he was so used to it. And he said it when he told me he was a little boy, your friends are gonna die. They're not gonna live too long.
Dumbass out there.
And that father stayed in the hood. Right. But he stayed in the hood.
He showed that gun. You showed that gun to them motherfuckers and ain't use it.
No, he ain't use it. Until later. I mean, he caught them slipping. And he used it later. Affluent families were in that neighborhood. His girlfriend, what's her name? That was Nia Long. Her parents had money and they lived in the hood. His father had, middle class. He lived in the hood. His mother left though.
He caught that shit and ain't do nothing with it. Oh, buddy pulled out that motherfucking tech. I think he pulled out a tech or a Mac.
What scene is that?
When it was at that little park, we was talking about we got a problem here. And he pulled that gun out and they pulled.
Right. Okay. No, he didn't. He was just saying he had a problem, but they forgot that Ricky was at the store. Yeah, he said pick Chris up. So you got Chris in the porch, and they were gonna see what was going on. And they came to his mama's house. Like, I mean,
Exactly.
I ain't like that.
He emptied the whole clip and was laughing. That's
Yep.
not nobody you want to be fucking with. Like
Right.
a whole 32 shots from that Mac 10. Yeah, he shot up with Mac 10.
Yep. You counted.
He could have killed everybody.
Yeah, he could have. Yeah.
He just busted off in the air.
Yep.
And then a little love bug about to get their ass beat by the police.
Oh, the guy who played the detective in Menace to Society, you done effed up him. He's in Black Lightning too.
Bill Duke?
Yes, he's in there. He playing a good role. That man is a good actor, I'm telling you. His skin's still beautiful. His skin is beautiful still.
He did.
Yeah, but I'm talking about in Black Lightning.
Remember him in Predator, right?
Yes. One of my favorites. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's some machine gun and went to work. He killed all of them trees over there.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't kill nobody. Killed them trees.
The Predator gave Sanaa Lathan, gave her the warrior mark, okay? All right, so there we go. It should have been a part 2. Oh my God! Predator came out in the 80s.
And Carl Weathers was in there. Apollo Creed. Both of them died.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Messing around with Alien, yeah.
Fucking around with that damn alien Terminator.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yep.
What's that movie that Bill Duke?
Yeah, and then later down the line, Negroes are talking about Predator
It's still
is a
alive.
black man because he got dreads. I'm like, come on.
Hell yeah.
1987. I was there for it. I was all in for it. What kind? Oh, let me look. Arnold is on the cover. Let me blow this up. Yeah. Oh my God, that Predator is ugly. Oh my goodness. The new one, that funny one, that one was. They got a Predator that's bigger than the Predator. They got this super Predator.
Remember, he was on Car Wash, right? And that was Dwayne, but he went by Abdul.
Where?
Car Wash.
Yes, Abdul. Yep. In Car Wash, right? Yep. Yep. That's right. Yep. He looks good for his age. Arnold looking all old and it's old looking, cracked up, but this man, he look good for his age. His skin is flawless. Let me see. Yep, he plays a probably the same type of character he played in Menace to Society, of authority, a person of authority, using guns and
Yeah.
I didn't remember Danny Glover was in Predator 2. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I forgot about that. That's Mr. Yeah.
He was director of the
And
movie Sister Act 2. He directed Sister Act 2.
he
Bill
did?
Duke. You better get him, Bill Duke.
He did? Oh. I like Sister Act too, because Lauren was in that one.
Deep Cover, Raging Harlem.
A Raging Harlem?
Mm.
That's cool.
Yeah, so
Why am I struggling with this? I wanted to.
why am I
Yeah.
struggling?
Yeah. I'm like struggling right now.
What you struggling about?
Yeah, Bill Duke right there. Okay, there we go. So I'm trying to see his 77 years old. There you go. All right. Pretty wife.
Abdul.
She's a lot younger than him. She's 58. Yeah, she's 58. Very pretty. She's a singer of some kind or whatever. Yeah. Deep Cover. He was in Commando. I don't be remembering nobody but Arnold, you know. I talk like the Terminator. That's the Terminator, okay? So yeah. Arnold, let me see, Sister Act, Hoodlum.
Whisper's getting busy out
Something
there.
called Get Rich or Die Trying, National Security. What was he doing? National Security. I like National Security. National Security was funny. Let me see what